Hello everyone and welcome. Today we're talking about saving you a considerable amount of money every single month with your phone plan. Now you may be wondering, how much money can I save with my phone plan? Well, during this video I want you to take out your phone, look up your data usage and have that number ready. Then we'll get into the pricing. This phone plan is through Google. It's called Google Phi. Most people probably haven't heard about Google Phi because many people aren't talking about it. But essentially, it's a bring your own device plan where almost any phone that you have, or a lot of different phones, you can actually bring to the network. It was initially launched as Project Phi because it was a project from Google, but then they made it official in 2018, called it Google Phi. Personally, I use the Pixel phone, which is a Google phone, so naturally it works on the network. Up until this point though, if you didn't have a Google phone that was already pre-qualified, you had to go out and buy a special SIM card to plug into your phone to get it to work on the network. But this has become even easier now for new iPhone users. This new concept of an eSIM is an electronic SIM card that's in your phone. You can use that to access Google's network. This means you no longer have to, one, buy a Google specific phone, or two, go out and buy a special SIM card. It's already in your phone. If you have an XR, XS, XS Max, or the 11 series, or possibly the upcoming iPhone SE, these all have these eSIMs. It's an electronic SIM card that's already in the phone, and you can use that for the plan. So it has now become easier than ever to use an iPhone on Google's plan. Personally, jump back 2 years, this wasn't a possibility. You had to go with an Android phone, so I ended up switching from an iPhone 5S that I used for 4 years, and I switched from there to a Pixel 2. So I had to make the jump from an iPhone to an Android. Wasn't really thrilled about that, but I was looking at saving money. So now let's dig into the numbers. The way you save money is because this is a pay-as-you-go phone plan. So you only pay for what you need. So if you have those data numbers ready, you can just pull up your phone, go into the settings and see how much data have you used this month. This will help you determine how much it's going to cost you. First, let's start with the line. You pay $20 for the line. So that's calls and texts, $20 a month. Then there's a $5 fee. It's the taxes and the fee or whatever. That's essentially $5. So you pay $20 for the line, $5 fee, and then you pay $10 per gig. So if I use 1 gig in a month, I pay $10 for that 1 gig plus the line plus the fee. So it's $20 for the line, $5 for the fee, it's $25 plus $10 per gig. So if I only used a gig, my total bill would be $35. Now, you pay data at $10 a gig up to 6 gigs, and from there it's free. So the most I'm going to pay for data is $60. And then from there, it stops charging me and I get free data. Now, it does get throttled at that point, so the quality is probably going to diminish, but essentially they don't charge you after 6 gigs of data. So real world life, what does this look like for me? I live in a place where I have Wi-Fi. My workplace also has Wi-Fi, so I only use data when I'm traveling from home to work and back again, then on the weekends, and then if I'm traveling, those are the only times I'm using data. So I'm typically ranging from 1 to 2 gigs per month. So on average, roughly, I pay $45 per month for my phone plan. And I've paid that amount for the last 2 years. So this is legitimate. This isn't some scam where it's like, hey, save 50%. No, I really only pay $45 more or less per month depending on my data usage. We're currently in the coronavirus, and I haven't really been going out much because I've been abiding by this stay-at-home order. What does this mean? This means that my April bill was $29 because I really didn't go out of the house a whole lot during March and April. And I only used whatever the amount of gigs are to equal $29. That means I used less than half a gig, but then that means I only paid for less than half a gig. I wasn't defaulted into some name brand pricing strategy where I'm paying $80, $90, $100 flat. Regardless, I'm only paying for what I use. Now, what if you're thinking, hey, I use way more data. I use a ton of data. Well, they have a plan for you. They have a $70 a month plan for you to use 22 gigs of data. So if you use 22 gigs of data a month, $70 is probably the better plan to go with. If you say, hey, I've got a family, well, the plan scales. The more phones you add, the cheaper it becomes. So it's instead of $20 for that phone, say you have 5 phones because you have a large family, each of those phones then costs maybe $17 or $16 or $15 per phone, and then the data cap comes in at a little bit higher. Really depends on the number of phones you have, but say you have 3 phones, I think it's like $17 per line, and then the data cap is at 10 gigs. So for the 3 phones, you're paying $17 a line, and then once you all meet 10 gigs worth of data, it's going to stop charging you for data. Again, it may be throttled, so the quality may not be there, but it won't charge you any more than that. So why is this a big thing now, and why is it just coming out? It's because just recently this concept of an eSIM came out with the new iPhones. This eSIM allows you to use a new iPhone on Google's plan without any hassle. This is coming from an article called 9 to 5 Google. It's actually probably a copy from 9 to 5 Mac, which dives into a whole lot of Apple stuff. 9 to 5 Google dives into a bunch of Google stuff, and this surfaced 2 days ago. So let's dig into the article. Okay, so as I mentioned, electronic SIM cards. As it notes, it's remarkably convenient. Previously, before you had an electronic SIM card, the way you went about this was, if you had an iPhone, you had to go and buy a special SIM card to put into your phone in order to get it to work on Google's plan. The chances of you buying this special SIM card to put in your iPhone to get onto a Google network, chances are pretty low that you would actually go through that. So this actually makes it a lot easier. As I noted, this is for the iPhone XR, XS, XS Max, and the 11 series, along with the upcoming iPhone SE. These have this eSIM capability where it's like an electronic SIM card in the phone already. You really don't have to do much. It's just going through the setup process. So you go through, you create your account online with Google, you have this eSIM, it's already in your phone, you just walk through the setup process. It's pretty straightforward. Now this did just come out 2 days ago. This came out on April 16th. So as time goes on, I'm sure more people will go through this process and it will become more seamless. But again, if you have any phone, most phones are supported because in 2018, Google Phi did support iPhones. It's just a matter of going out and getting that SIM card. Okay, so you may be wondering, what is the quality of life like on this network? Is it this big change? As I mentioned, I went from an iPhone on Verizon that I used for years, and I ended up switching to Google Phi on a Pixel 2. I'm actually recording on the Pixel 2 right now. As a good comparison, my wife has an iPhone on Verizon. She's on her own family's plan, so that's covered. But essentially, we have a good comparison. I have a Google phone on Google's plan. She has an iPhone on Verizon. And whenever there's a dead zone, it's a dead zone for both of us. Wherever we're not getting the best service, it's the same for both of us. It's not really that much different. Google Phi is actually based off of T-Mobile, Sprint, and US Cellular. Google works with those towers and those networks for their phone plan. So overall, that experience hasn't changed all that much. And using Google Phi as a service provider is incredibly easy. It's just an app on my phone. If I want to be notified that I've hit a data limit, or say when I use 2 gigs, I want it to send me an alert saying, hey, you're at 2 gigs, I just toggle my little alert bar from 3 gigs down to 2 gigs, or for you it'd be 3 gigs down to 2 gigs, and it will send me an alert. There's a lot of customizability directly in the app. So it's super easy to use. You can change numbers, you can do call forwarding, you can check out your voice, whatever it is, it's all right there in the app. It's incredibly easy to use. As I mentioned, my wife is on an iPhone through Verizon, and our experiences have been very similar. If you have an iPhone, this means less of a change for you. You can keep your iPhone, yet you take advantage of this great network. So what does this mean for you? Do the math and think, okay, what am I paying today versus what would I be paying if I was on Google's network, and knowing that the quality of life isn't drastically reduced. It's not like I'm going from an iPhone to Android. What is life going to look like? It's not really going to change a whole lot. You're just probably going to be paying a whole lot less. Because let's face it, Apple doesn't even have a network. You're probably through Verizon or through another network. but it's not Apple's network that you're changing. You're just changing from T-Mobile or Verizon, whoever, to Google, and you can keep your iPhone. And what could you do with that savings? Say you're paying $90 a month. Say you're paying more. What would it look like if you're only paying $45 a month and you're saving $45 a month? What would you be doing with that $45? Personally, jump back 2 years ago, I was in a ton of debt and I was looking for ways to free up some money so I could start paying off this debt. This is one of the ways that I was able to assess my whole budget and think, where are areas that I can save in? I was like, wait a minute, there's this new Google Phi thing coming out, or at the time it was Project Phi, but it was just one thing that I identified as a way to save money. And again, it saves you every single month. So now after 2 years, this has been one area that's really helped me pay off debt, because that extra amount of money I would have been paying to Verizon is now not going to Verizon anymore. It's going to pay off my debt. So this has helped me achieve some goals. Now, I put a lot of other measures in place. I used to drive a BMW and then I bought a Honda, and I sold the BMW, and now I took that savings and I rolled that into debt. So there's a lot of different ways you can accomplish your goal. This was just one area that I identified that, hey, this is a reoccurring charge. If I can save a little bit of money here, it's just going to continue saving me money down the road. So what are your goals, and what could you do with that cost savings? And will you make the jump? Will you go through the process of identifying, hey, I've got a phone that qualifies. Why don't I just go ahead and set up this new plan? Or say you don't have an iPhone that qualifies, but you still want to jump on it. Say you don't have a phone that qualifies with an eSIM, but you can go buy a SIM card. Would you take those steps to save that money? Is it worth it for you? It was worth it for me because I was really trying to get out of debt, and this was just one way that helped, but is it worth it to you? Anyways, I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that was helpful in identifying ways that you can save money without really changing your lifestyle all that much. If you enjoyed it, I ask that you please like and subscribe.